Thank you so much for joining me on What is the Backstory. Today I'm talking about 5G. Is this causing our coronavirus?
What's the backstory with Carlos Hardy? Yeah.
Before we begin our topic of 5G and our new writer's room, I wanted to talk to you guys about writing in quarantine. I'm hoping all you writers and followers and readers and people out there who have something that you're trying to write, I'm hoping you're finding the time in quarantine. This is a perfect time for you to take the bull by the horns and put that pen to paper, get in front of that computer and write those stories. People love a good story in times like the pandemic. My books are selling a lot because people, they want a nice book to be able to get them through quarantine. So I'm hoping you as a writer are taking the time out to get your writing on. Let's talk about 5G just for a little bit before we get into our writer's room. A lot of people have paralleled 5G with coronavirus and what has happened in the pandemic for the last, I would say, 6 to 7 months. There's a lot of conspiracy theories out there talking about 5G, but I personally don't think it has anything to do with it per se, because there are places where 5G isn't in existence and there's a ton of people sick. So trying to equate the two and trying to marry the two is not such a good idea. Also, scientists in Europe and also in America for that matter has derailed or debunked the notion that 5G is creating coronavirus. Believe the conspiracy theories if you want, but for me, I don't believe it. And I'm hoping over the next few months we can get through it. The vaccine is out, which is great and wonderful. And I'm excited that we can have some type of normal living lifestyles by the beginning of summer of 2021. Believe what you want, but at the same time, I'm hoping a ton of Americans take the vaccine and be able to help to restart our economy, restart our lifestyles, restart our life outside the house, which is what most of us want. So please, again, wear a mask. In today's writer's room, I wrote about 5G, and pretty much over the last, like I said before, over the last 7 months, we've talked about the correlation between 5G and coronavirus. So I wanted to create a story, a small story for those of you that believe in this conspiracy theory. Our story takes place with James, who is a 10-year-old boy, and he has suspicions of this coronavirus, where it comes from and what it's all about and what it's doing to his family. So let's go into our writer's room and take a look at a new episode of The Backstory. It's 3 a.m. in the morning on a quiet city street. Harsh weather invades Akron, Ohio for the final winter blizzard of the year. Icicles dangle aimlessly on the edges of rooftops. Every inch of the city is doused in snow. A white van plows through the compounding icy mess, gliding up a vacant city road. The mysterious van halts in the center of the street. Two men exit, both wearing unidentifiable white coats with heavy boots. Their faces are covered in a camouflaged fabric, only exposing their devilish blue eyes. The two men quietly survey the adjacent area before carefully opening the van's double doors. They retrieve a titanium box. It takes the strength of both men to lug the weighty hardware. A 3-story apartment building sits prominently across the street. A 10-year-old boy with almond skin and short dreadlocks is sprawled out on a bedroom floor. His thumbs trample his joystick, his eyes constantly glancing over at his bedroom door, then back at the television. In the last hour, his grandmother has yelled her displeasure profusely at the boy. "James, turn that game off!" James rebelliously ups the volume in his earbuds, hoping to block out his grandmother's incessant badgering. Gentle sounds of hammering outside his window breaks his concentration. He pushes his earbuds deeper into his eardrums, clutching the joystick tighter, obsessing more and more on his game. The nagging disturbance outside his window grows louder and easily penetrates the razor-thin walls, sending the youngster into a controlled rage. James can't take it any longer. He chucks his joystick to the floor, leaping over his sleeping brother Chauncey. James marches to the window as if being sent to the principal's office. The tip of his nose grazes up against the glass. His warmed palm cradles the back of his bony neck. Watching from his window, James glares at the two men as they descend from a telephone pole. James stays quiet, watching the two men maneuver in the unrelenting freezing cyclone. What could they be doing at 3 a.m.? James whispers with concern. After a while, the two men toss their equipment into the back of the van. Without notice, one of the men swings around and unexpectedly catches a glimpse of James' soft features. Vying to stay out of sight, James' legs buckle. He collapses to the floor. I think they saw me. I think they saw me. The 10-year-old positions himself as if performing a pull-up, using the window's stall to gingerly lift himself. His brown eyes devouring the scene with caution, unable to release himself. He's momentarily fixed on the titanium box secured to the center of the pole. The two men hop into their van. They drive away. A few days later, James enters his house. A sharp snarling cry of pain bellows from his grandmother's bedroom. Chauncey, his younger brother, sits with his back against the wall outside his grandmother's room. Trails of tears pour down the youngster's face. Hey, James, I don't think she's going to make it. James censors his thoughts before responding. She was fine 3 days ago. He murmurs beneath his breath, trying to convince himself. James' attempts to comfort his sibling fail to hit the mark. Chauncey erupts, lifting from the floor, wiping away tears that had gathered. I don't think she'll make it. James turns away, masking his hurt and absorbing his younger brother's pain. What are we going to do, James? We can't take care of ourselves. She's all we've got. James chews on his brother's question. He throws on his coat and sprints out the door. Moments later, James lingers underneath the pole pointing at the titanium box. That's 5G, bro. It's killing Granny. Chauncey glances up at the box, then over at James. James, it's freezing out here. What is 5G? James steps closer. He's now eye to eye with his brother. When did Granny get sick? 3 days ago. When was that thing installed? 3 days ago. It's on the internet, Chauncey. That's 5G. Chauncey, realizing the collation, and bites on James's story. So you telling me that thing is killing Grandma? Yes, it's 5G. We gotta do something. James pulls his prized possession from his pocket, a pellet gun. The mischievous boy points his gun and shoots, the tiny bullets barely leaving a blemish on the box. The white van from a few days earlier suddenly appears. The boys clamor close together, not knowing their fate. The two mysterious men exit the van. A short, angry yell comes from James. He shoots at the transmitter box with vengeance. The two adult men chase after the boys, prompting them to make a run for it. Their teenage legs plunging deeper into the piles of heavy snow, slowing their escape. The boys run to an open field. Exhaustion finally sets in. Keep running, Chauncey! I can't. My legs are getting tired. Within seconds, a white blaring light encapsulates Chauncey's body. He vanishes in thin air. The power from the light forces James face first onto the snow, pushing himself up from the ground. James glances around to notice the snowy field is now empty and everyone have disappeared. He's alone. Hello? Where did you go? Chauncey! Chauncey! Welcome back to Backstory. As you can see, for me, writing for kids is so much fun because to me, kids, teenagers, they're so pure and they're so honest. So it's easy to tell a swift story with them in mind. They have no filter. So I absolutely really like writing stories that have kids. Most of my book, if not all of my books, have characters that are younger than 10, between the ages of 5 and 10, and it's because they are so unfiltered, so open that and so purely fun that I love writing for any type of children in mind. In that story, James and Chauncey, two 10-year-old boys vying to solve the 5G problem, but ended up meeting their match. We don't know what happened to Chauncey, but I have an idea. I think I'm going to continue this story and other stories, so stay tuned for that. Most of the stories I've written on Backstory, I'm going to eventually extend and make a part 2, a part 3, and just keep it going for the story. So I'm hoping that you'll be able to stay and enjoy the stories. Okay, let's give you the tip of the day. Very simple. I've mentioned this before and I want to mention it again, especially going into 2021. Dream killers. Don't be a dream killer. So I know we all have dream killers around us, and some of them are for us and support us, and others, they pretty much want to derail what it is we're trying to succeed at or accomplish. And I just want you to know that it's very easy to fall in the jaws of a dream killer. So please be careful about who you're sharing your work with, who you're sharing your business ideas with, or who you're allowing to be into your space, your close niche space that you hold so sacred. Just be careful about that, because it's very, very important that you have people that support you. That's why I really don't tell a lot of people about my long-term, or for that matter, my short-term goals and dreams, because there are tons of dream killers that are all around you, and if you don't know one, it means you are one. I hope you guys had a great holiday. I appreciate you so much. Again, here's to a bright year, and I'm hoping you and your families have a great and awesome 2021. And we'll just leave it there. Until next time, I thank you so much for being a part of my channel, or for watching this video. I am Carlos, and this is What is the Backstory?
What's the backstory with Carlos Hardy? Yeah, yeah, yeah.